the ponging or whatever.
Alright, so Wendell, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thank
Tell
you.
me a little bit, let's dive straight into it. Tell me a little bit about the decision for this year to be the final year.
Well, yeah, it was the decision long in thinking about it. It didn't just happen overnight, but the realization that this was our 30th year as a Juve institution, as a Juve enterprise, kind of felt, okay, this is a full circle moment. We started off without a plan or an intention of being around for any length of time. And we barely made it past the first 3 years, and then we had a song called Blue, which took us into another dimension. And just to be able to be doing what we've been doing at the level that we've been doing it for 30 years, we thought that that was a good time to say, all right, we good. Time to bring it down. I mean, there are other factors at play, over the years we find ourselves literally going against the tide. We're heading into the east, into the rising sun, which we think is the perfect metaphor of out of the darkness into the light that a Juve provides. And the rest of Juve bands heading down west, where they're back to the sun. I was like we ain't get the memo, and even if we did get the memo, I didn't think we would answer that call. But just recognizing, I was telling somebody as well, Carnival, in doing all my research and in my observations, has eras and chapters. Things only happen for so long before they fall away and something else takes its place. And I think we've had a good long run. We're very grateful for it. We're very humbled. We've learned a lot. We've gained a lot. We've had to pay a heavy price at certain points, But it's a good time to say, yeah, let me take one more chip, one more dance down the road, one more jam, and call it a day. And which is not to say we're done recording music or engaging the Carnival, but the Juve band itself. The other thing that was really beginning to annoy me was people just showing up and asking about it being all-inclusive. Seeing the appearance of rope on the road on a Juve morning for me is goes against the grain of the spirit of what Juve is. And I actually think it will give room for us to be able to articulate a lot more about what Juve is, what we've learned about the Juve, whether that be in the form of a book or a film or a combination of all of those things. I think for me, that's the next challenge, to really help fill that void of understanding of what this ritual is.
Okay, for those who don't know, and based on my own experiences and conversations that I've had, there are very many people who don't know.
Yes.
Who don't know, and the sad thing is, or the worrying thing for me, is that a lot of people don't know how much they don't know.
Yeah.
And it really scares me that 5, 10, 15 years down the road, when 20 years down the road, not to be morbid, but when the older generation is existing now, when they are no longer around, they're no longer able to do what they're doing now, what will we be left with them to come release history and legacy and documentation of the facts of what Carnival is and what Juve is.
And that's why I think it's so important to fill that void, help fill that void, and to challenge the ignorance. I always say there are two types of ignorance. There's classic ignorance, which is you honestly don't know, and then there's good old trendy ignorance where you ain't business. You ain't want to know. You just, there ain't time for that, right? And I want to challenge that. Yes, it's hard to find that information. We didn't write about ourselves. The only writing about the Carnival and the Juve is from a whole other perspective, and is fraught with condemnation and scorn and negativity. And in doing our research and us trying to even understand what it is the Juve is, because we're born in it, you grow around it, nobody ain't explaining it to you. I was exposed to Juve at 9 years old. I was part of a band called Merry Dark Isles, which was a Juve institution from Dark Isle Lane in Belmont. They used to play real hardcore Juve. But it's only as big now when we decided to make a Juve intervention at the time, because we find the thing was getting pretty and corporate, that we had to do reverse engineer and say, but if we're offering this thing to people, it behooves us to understand what this thing is. And it's only as a big man I came to understand the connection between Juve and the emancipation and the Camboulet and all these things and those signifiers of our liberation and how we claimed our freedom in 1834, when the Juve, or the Carnival itself, was claimed by the formerly enslaved Africans, it became something else. The streets, the road make to walk, that ethos of claiming the streets, that's when that came into being. That wasn't part of the mix before. Carnival prior to that was house to house, ball to ball, fete to fete. So the understanding that we've always had the Mardi Gras, and then came the Camboulet, and it was always one of contestation. And the powers that be was always trying to quell the spirit of the Camboulet, quell the African spirit that gave life to all these expressions, to the point where, you know, when the Africans claimed the streets, they pulled away, and they spent the next 40, 50 years fighting it down by any means necessary. Literally, they tried to ban it. And then we had the Camboulet riots in 1881. And then after that, they came up with the best way of quelling the expression, which was to institute competitions. And competitions have rules. In 1919, when they put in the rules, no whining, no jamming, no obscenity, no this, no that, that's when they finally got a handle on the festival and it became controllable or tame. So just understanding that and picking up that history over the years. So as we find out more, we'll put it in song, we put it in our shows, we'll try and tell the story as best we could. And we're realizing that a lot of people not doing that work because it's hard work to do, you know. A lot of it is not ready, it's not on YouTube. You know, I tell people nowadays, if something not on YouTube, you think that it's not there, you have to go and find it, you have to go and do the research. Fortunately, I had a father that was from Henry Street and would tell me stories. Fortunately, I grew up in Belmont and surrounded by, you know, Carnival energy from early. Jason Griffith, master sailor man, was my barber. Ken Morris was just up the road, master copper man. And in years later, you get to realize, oh, all these things was feeding you and giving you a context, you know. We were lucky to work with Minchell from the age of 19, who introduced the idea of mass and art and drawing on tradition and innovating based on tradition. You know, everything he did was informed by the bat and the sailor and all those things that we had. He wasn't trying to make something out of nothing, you know. So just understanding what a rich legacy we have, what a rich heritage we have. And our job is to keep it alive, keep it contemporary, because Carnival is a contemporary thing. Carnival is not a old folks nostalgic thing, you know, and there's always that fight between what was, what is, and what could possibly be.
How do we change the mindset of people in general? Because you touched on a very important point when it creates the people are wanting to do the work and people are wanting to delve beneath the surface. I mean, that is some cliche, but a lot of people say Carnival has lost its essence and is focused more on the feathers and beads and the treaty aspect of it and things like that. But how do we pull it back or pull the mindset of the people back and get them to understand the importance of us still holding on to and preserving the actual true essence of
Right.
what Carnival is meant to be?
Well, what I always try to reinforce in people is that Carnival, you don't need no permission. You could be a mass band all on your own. You could be a mass of one. All you need is the imagination and the idea and the will. Carnival has lost its essence in many ways because it's moved away from that idea of free expression to feeling that you have to have a transaction with some service provider who will cater to your every need and will give you an experience, whether in a fete or on the road, that's all inclusive of everything from where you could pee to what you drink to what you eat to where you rest and all that sort of thing. For me, these are highly curated Mardi Gras incursions. We're losing the spirit of the Camboulet. We're losing that spirit of when my father and them was boys in Belmont at the age of 19 and they decide to play sailor. They just decide to play sailor, right? You don't need no permission to do that. You don't need to go and sign up with nobody for a prize to do that. And I keep trying to encourage people. In all the years we've done Juve, we've never signed up with no institution. We're not looking to be judged. We're not looking to be constrained. We're not looking to be contained. The road make the walk on Carnival Day. The Carnival imagination is the domain of all of us. So if we abdicate that, if we let that go, and if we see that the only role for us now is to, I like to say, the grandchild of the midnight robber is holding rope and serving drinks. And that is crucial. People need to understand that. And even if they ain't doing that, they have guns that they play in a mass every day, and they killing and shooting one another for what? A diss, for lyrics and songs, you know? So we've lost a lot of the human capital that would have informed the spirit of the carnival. Thank God for Pan. Pan is a saving grace. The Junior Panorama the other day is a reminder that the thing still is connected to the young people and they could bring that spirit forward. But mass, for me, unfortunately, I think we've lost the plot, and mass has been appropriated by commercial interests who have managed to manage the thing in such a way that they have a stranglehold on it. And a lot of young people now coming up don't understand that you don't need to engage in that transaction to be a part of the festival. So for me, how do we get people to understand that? How do we get fellas on the block to say, I go in town and play a this or play a that? You know, Roger was saying yesterday, his first experience of jury was with his brothers putting a paper bag on their head, dressing up and going sweeping people's yard in Savo. That was a mass sweeper, and they pay a penny or 25 cents and send you on your way. Or people used to play police and thief, or doctor and nurse, and they come and examine your heart and they give you 5 cents. Or even the baby doll. All these early Cambule mass, all the Jamet mass, had a transactional quality where you used to, you know, you had to pay the devil, you had to pay the robber, you know, you respect due to the Indian and the Paro and all these things. And we've lost that. If people don't see that they could just pick up themselves and do these things, and they don't have to be organized by some corporate entity or sponsored by some corporate entity, you know, then we lose the essence of the thing.
Are you satisfied that enough is being done to expose to the education system? Are you satisfied that enough is being done to teach our children as they come up and the history behind festivals like Carnival?
Not enough is being done, but I'm very heartened that, you know, you see the schools at Carnival time, they get very involved. The kids get very involved at a certain point. They learn the history of the thing. You see a lot of the real retention of the mass still happens in the school level. But what happens when you get to that adolescent level and you're too cool now for that kind of thing, and you just want to be in the fete and the party, you want to be part of that scene that is promoted daily on social media. You know, there's a notion that, you know, if I'm not in the fete, if I'm not, you know, in the bikini and the beads, and I'm not in the thing, you know. So while there's that, I would like to see that something runs counter or parallel to that is of equal, you know, allure to the young people coming up. So like when I was coming up, Minchel Mass, there was Barclay Mass and there was Minchel Mass. If you like the pretty, you go there. But if you want to be part of the theatrical and something a little darker, and some say, you know, they call it all kind of thing, but it was very meaningful to those of us who participated in it at the time. And we got to appreciate that, you know, there was whole other aspect of mass than just prettiness, you know. And if you look at a lot of the traditional mass, it's not pretty, you know, it's dark. So there's something about that carnival that gives us an opportunity to engage that aspect of self in a safe way. You know, as I always say, it's an opportunity, particularly in Juve morning, to exorcise the jumbies and the demons and the spirits in the place. You know, to act it out, to be a devil for a day, so that the devil don't take a hold of you for the next 365 days, you know what I mean? So it's a chance to blow some fire and get some energies out there in a contained way, in a safe way. You know, I'm writing a script talking about the bad behavior sailors and stressing that in the middle of all the bad behavior, there was an order. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. They just think that it's pure wildness and madness. But there's an order in the middle of all the so-called chaos of a Juve morning. There's an order, there's a spirit at play, there's a joy. I see so many people, they're not whining hard, they're chipping, they're hugging up, they're smiling, they're beaming, they're happy, they're not losing their mind in a frenzy. You know, that's a trope, that's a notion of what it is. Until you experience otherwise, You know, Juve morning is a bomb tune kind of space. It's not a Iowa jump up and down space. It's a down the road. It's a heartbeat space. You know, the thing that makes the whole vibration come together. One of the songs we did this year is called Jamming. I'm working with the producer. He was like, "This need to be faster." And I said, "No, it does not need to be faster. It needs to be exactly the beat that it is, because I want that song to sound like a steel band coming down the road on Juve morning." Yeah, I heard when they did Invaders did their Juve for, I think it's Republic Day, they do their Juve, and I heard a steel band coming down the road, just a steel band, no truck, no big song, no, and just the sound of that is surreal, is sublime, and it come from here. Every community have a steel band. A steel band is the heart and the soul of a community. It's a gathering spot for young people, old people, or in between people to come together, unschooled, and apply themselves and learn and drill and play music in a way that no other instrument requires you to play. No other instrument, you just play with your whole body. At six bass, you have to lie down and turn up and do all kind of things just to get the sound and the vibration to come out, you know. And now we have these conductors in front of the band. Well, them fellas is putting on a show. At the end of it, they're exhausted. And it's just understanding us. You know, like Panorama, people complain, "Oh, it's too long for a show." It's not a show, people. It's a ritual. It's an annual coming together of the tribes from the various communities, and there's a community pride at stake. I coming down to represent with my band, and it's people powered. If it have people to push the band on stage, well, then the whole thing done. I remember as a child in Belmont, the bands used to be coming up right outside my house. It was a big thing to run outside and hold on to a pan rack, and nobody didn't tell you to move, and you hold on to that pan rack and you push it up to the corner, and then you get a little older and you push it down by the savannah, and you get a little older and you help them push it on stage. That for me, that was a rite of passage. That was a coming of age. You know, Huggins Pandemonium, my mother used to play with them. Now I see Pandemonium is back in existence. You know, St. Margaret's school band from just down the road from where I grew up is a source of pride. You know, so these things, we have to understand what this festival is, what this ritual is. There are things that we could commercialize. There are things that we could commodify and organize along, you know, modern lines and make it efficient and clean and attractive. But I don't want to go to a fete where I have to pass through a young expo to get to the actual fete, where everything is a business activation here and a day and a day. Everybody's selling something like Gina and Dinah days, you know. Before you even get to the fete, you're bombarded with sell, you know. And for a lot of people, if you ain't have that in your fete not happening. The long time when we go to a fete, you're going to a fete to sweat. You know, I ain't going to a fete to lie down on a mattress or get a massage. Those things are lost on me.
And how do you respond to people who say that the rope culture,
Yeah.
as relates to Juve, Mass, Monday and Tuesday and stuff like that, and the heightened security and the exorbitant prices for fete tickets and stuff like that, is to keep a certain element out in response to crime. How do you respond to that?
I responded by saying that those people see themselves as special and set apart and don't wish to congregate with certain people. And as a matter of fact, we trade, we call it inclusive, but it's actually exclusive. What we're trading in is exclusivity. A lot of us trade in the notion that it is only accessible to me and a few others of my ilk. I think it speaks to the depth of insecurity of us as a people and how young we are as a society, and that we have to engage in these very clearly discriminatory practices in order to feel special and set apart. The rope was laughed out of existence in Carnival, and then it was reintroduced many generations later. And it was reintroduced in the notion that it was a security measure, but it's a piece of rope. It ain't really doing nothing to stop nobody from, and it is, for me, I see it as an affront because it challenges the idea of the road as a free space where everybody can engage. And basically what's been happening over the years is that we've been trying to make this free space safer and safer for one grouping of people. And I say this at the risk of being condemned, but I could say that because I understand the both sides of the equation, you know, coming from Belmont, coming from that free space of expression and going to St. Mary's College, and also understanding that aspirant culture that you're a part of, that you're trained to leave certain things behind and judge yourself, and the self-contempt of the society is real, and a lot of us are not in a position to acknowledge that and see that what we're doing is perpetuating. You know, in moments like this, I just feel like cussing, to be honest, because it really is sad, it's indictable that we've allowed ourselves to get back to this place. As a matter of fact, there was a fete one time that you had to send a picture of yourself before you could get a ticket. What is that? If that is not, like, you know, discrimination, what is it? And when you spend thousands of dollars to go to an event and the first thing you talk about is what was on the menu, you know, not even who appeared, and it's just, oh God, Gil, I don't know what to say now. One of the main reasons for us getting out of this whole Juve thing too is the idea that everybody's now coming to you with the all-inclusive demands. You know? It's Juve morning. It's 4 or 5 hours on the road. It's a free space. In all my years of playing mass, and that's a long time, it have people used to come. That was their hustle. They take what little money they have and they buy a little water. They come and they set up and they sell in a little acro or a little roti or something. When you put everything inside the band, what happens to these people? You cut them off for the thing. For years, they were putting up these roadblocks around Port of Spain. So if you're coming in from the east or you're coming in from the west, they stop you and they pull you out the maxi and send you back home. So those fellas stopped coming in town. So in the last 15, 20 years, the road, there's nobody in the road. Where's the vibes? You don't play mass for yourself, by yourself. You're playing mass. It's a transaction between you and the onlooker, the spectator. But we're killing that off. It's becoming more and more narcissistic. I like to say, long time mass was look me, now mass is look at me. And you looking at yourself before anybody else could, but usually you're playing mass like this. And you're posing for your cell phone, and then some girls can get together and jam up on one another, and you can see some fellas hanging on the periphery, and only because 10 of them in the same short pants, you realize, oh, they're in the band. Because they ain't looking, they have nothing to distinguish them as playing mass. Yeah? Long time if you're playing mass, you're playing something. You had a portrayal. But now we're playing these abstract themes that they're not grounded in anything. So that's all we're looking to do, is jump up and down, drink as much as we can, wind up on as many people as we can, and say we had a time.
It's true. And if we don't, and I say we as a collective, acknowledge that, we're just going to keep getting further and further and further from what it was initially meant to be.
Absolutely, and that's why I look at Grenada. I look at Grenada with a kind of envy. And I actually saw it coming up in this Juve. Because now everybody wants to go Grenada and jump up in the people jab, right? So there's actually a movement in Grenada that says jab is we thing, don't spoil it. Because before you know it, we spoil it and we lose it. So I want to use Grenada as an example of people holding on to their tradition, holding on to their expression, and holding on to their culture. And the first consideration is not the commercialization of it. But from the time it starts to go down that road, we start to lose it. And we have to be very careful with these things. And we've lost a lot. Thank God for Paramin. Thank God for the Alfreds and Carrie Pichima with the jabs and keeping that culture alive. These schools can only do so much. These schools can introduce you to the idea, but we have to reinvigorate communities. Young people in communities must feel that we must be able to play this or play that, and it will resonate and is enough for them, that they don't have to come in town and hand over their money to a conglomerate Because that's what it has become, is a conglomerate. You know, look at it. This is a clear departure from what Mass used to be. Mass used to come out of families, Leong and Bailey and all these things, and then it became, like all the individual mass man with a community supporting their vision, like a Barclay or Raul Garib or Peter Minshall or whatnot. But now it's corporate, it's committees, is we going down a Yankee road and to our detriment. And then we want to say, oh, we could lose it to Jamaica. How? Yes, if we keep going down that road, because they have a tourist industry, they know how to cater to people, they know what service means, right? We don't have that. We still watching your cokia if you ask for something, right? So if we just keep focusing on that side of it, then we might be in some danger. But they don't have, look what happened with children the other day with Pan, and where we still have some remnants of traditional expression. Those are the things that we have to cherish and nurture and encourage, and not in a academic way, in a real way. We have to provide the people with the ideas, with the means to reach out to the young people in the community and say, come, let me play a Black Indian. Yeah? Let me play a fancy Indian. Let me play some sailor and understand the difference between a long-nosed sailor and a bad behavior sailor and a king sailor and a fancy sailor. And how we went from a normal sailor to a man with a headpiece that is a watermelon or a London Bridge coming down, and the whole suit gone from white to a kaleidoscopic incrustation. And that is imagination. Every year you come in, I have it. This year they can't touch me. I come in green. Say green from head to foot, and then you decide I go on ahead. That's because you take your time and you apply your imagination and you make your mass and you like yourself, and people talk about you for the rest of the year until it come again.
Carnival is
a living ritual. Carnival is a living ritual. We come to understand that from doing it. It's a living ritual that we serve year after year and that we keep alive as best we could. I like to impress on people that this thing come long before us. It's older than all of us. It's older than the country, right? It's at the bedrock of our society. And we here in this moment, we have the opportunity to enhance it or distort it. And hopefully it will live beyond us. But in what form? We have to take responsibility for that now. Yeah? So recognizing that is this ritual that we participate in year after year. That's why in many cultures, when you have a ritual, you can't go and change it, right? You can't go and mess with it. But we have a ritual that's malleable. But inside that malleability, it still has certain constraints. And that's where respect has to be due. You don't just go and change it for changing its sake.
Shifting gears a little bit again, after 3 times. Tell me a little bit about your plans for this season.
All right, for this season, we have recorded 3 songs. One is called Vibes You Like, which speaks to, being the bringers of the vibes and encouraging people to recognize that they also are bringers of vibes. So you don't go into a scenario and say, it can't have no vibes. If you ain't bringing no vibes, it can't have no vibes, right? The other one is called Powder, which is a homage to the sailor tradition of, pelting powder and that lovely Trinidadian expression, you can't play mass and freight powder. We had a video shoot for the first time, a proper video shoot for the first time in years with our long-time collaborator, Walt Lovelace. And we're going to be hoping to release that very soon. And I got a glimpse of it the other day. I think it's going to be pretty exciting, and hopefully it will take people by storm. Then the final song we did was a song called Jammin' with Neil Bernard, and that speaks to the decision to say, bring down the curtain. We talk about jamming for a long time. There's a whole generation of vibration, and we're giving thanks for all the blessings we earned. Is evoking that Juve bomb feel with the pan strum and the duduk bass and It's actually the longest song we've ever recorded. It's 9 minutes long. It doesn't feel like 9 minutes though, so which is good. We have the Three Canal Show is back at Queen's Hall this year for the first time in a while. So I was telling somebody, within recent times we've done venues like Songfort, which is more concert venues. So we didn't really have too much of a storytelling or theatrical element. But this one, because we're back at Queen's Hall, there will be a strong storytelling element and enlightening people. And it's a lot of the things that I've just been talking about, my feelings about lots of things, and where the mass is, and where the carnival is, and where it's going, but through the eyes of two drunken sailors. Because humor is a big part of it, making statements, dropping some picong and 2-3 pong is all part of the mix. So we're back at Queen's Hall on the 4th and the 5th of February. And then after that, next stop is Juve, SS Bad Behavior in town, 10,000 dirty sailor come down. So we say it's pearls, paint, and plenty powder. Pearls being the Pearl anniversary, 30 years. We're doing what we're doing. Pearls also as in, what we've been proffering for the last couple of years, and could be likened to casting pearls before swine in many regards. But we have an audience that has grown with us and appreciates who we are and what we say and how we say what we say. So Juve morning, we're back on the road with Laventry Rhythm Section. They've been with us from the very beginning. They're an institution in their own right. And we will have the big truck and DJ Raucus. And so those who like the rhythm will go by the rhythm. Those who like to hear the music jamming will come by it, or we want to mix it up. And then after that, we rest up. We just come back to the black box and have a kind of open house, and people just fall in. So by Tuesday, we have a little last lap in the black box. And that's our carnival right there. And it's enough. It's more than enough. We're not getting any younger. We still feel good. We still feel capable and able, but you could feel the difference. 30 years is a long time.
What has been the public's response to your decision?
Oh gosh, people say, no, you can't do that. How you can do that? Or getting serious. One or two people understand. I was talking to Carl Beaver Henderson the other day, and he was like, I totally understand my brother, because he's in the thing, right? But other people who are close to us, I guess, they just, is something they already bemoaning a loss in advance. And I tell them, well, let me not start mourning the loss right now. Let me do this one. Let's have a good time. There's a line in the song that says, one more. This type of jamming should never end, And not that we leaving the door open, but as I say, we're not closing the door on our involvement in Carnival, but to do the Juve the way we've been doing the Juve for as long as we've been doing the Juve is definitely the end of that era. We are big on teaching. We're big on mentoring. We have this place here, the Big Black Box. We have people falling all the time. They want to know how they could do this or how they could do that. So maybe it'll open up a space where we could share more and encourage people to, let me see what you have and how we could help tweak it and choke it and make it more potent. We're big on that. So we ain't done. But the reaction so far has been a lot of teary-eyed responses. I mean, we shocked Adine Sejour on the air yesterday. I thought she knew. And then only in one of the off-air discussions it came up as if she knew, and she's like, what? And by the time she opened back up the mic, she was all choked up. But yeah, man, we clear about it. And what's good is that the three of us are clear about it. It's not just me or Roger or Stanton in isolation. We've spoken about it. It's come up once or twice before, and we figured the 30 is really the thing, that full circleness. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.